Hello, my name's Tess Stifler. I'm from Rochester, New York, and I'm currently a senior at Seton Hill University in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and I'd like to welcome you to the presentation of my major project. So currently, I am pursuing a double major in art therapy and dance on the pre-dance movement therapy track, and for my major project, I really wanted to explore the ways that these two creative arts therapies can be combined and sort of how I might use them in my career going forward. So I really want to do some experimentation with different processes and sort of experiment on myself so that I could have an example to use with clients one day. With the prospect of my future in grad school right around the corner, I really want to use this opportunity to compare where I'm at in the present and where I want to be in the future. So that's what I'm going to be exploring. And I felt like a documentary style of this, where I would film the entire process and show you all of the art making and the movement creating would be the best way to document this process so that I can see the entire process in the future and so that it makes the most sense. So I feel like the best place to start for me is a bodily check-in. I really want to put myself in the present and feel what my body's feeling in this current moment. And I'm hoping to develop a theme of specific things that I can work through in this process with that bodily check-in. So yes, let's head and do a bodily check-in. So a lot of anxiety came up in that check-in. It was sort of surprising to me. A lot of my current things that I'm working through, especially in my current art therapy work, is focused on my future after graduation and all of the next steps that I know that I have to go through. And most of that work is positive, like me being super excited about going into those things and just looking forward to it. But now my body, like checking in with my body, I realized I was holding a lot of anxiety somewhere, and that's what decided to come out. So I'm really glad that I did this check-in, and I think the theme that I'm going to go with for this project is going to be focused on my anxieties about my future and sort of working through those and trying to figure out how to process them. sort of initial reactions after creating that painting and participating in that movement is that my anxiety is starting to come out a lot more intensely than it was in just that check-in. It's coming out in a lot of angular and linear shapes. And specifically the art piece, it was surprising to me that I was getting so frustrated while I was making it. I usually don't get super frustrated when I'm making a therapeutic art piece. I usually just allow the process to go through its fruition and just don't let my emotions sort of get in the way of that. But I feel like because I was putting this so intense anxiety onto the page, onto that canvas, it was just making me feel other emotions about the process. I feel like that sort of parallels to the frustration I started feeling in the dance piece. When I was hitting myself, when I was hitting the floor, that all was not as much anxiety, but more frustration. It could be coming from frustration that I feel like I don't have enough time for everything that I need to do to prepare for my future. But yeah, those are just some of my initial reactions. Okay, so I'm back again to give my initial thoughts and responses to the work that I just did. I feel like I was really thinking about pathways, and especially in the dance piece, it felt like trying to go somewhere really hard but getting nowhere, staying in the same spot or just falling. In the art piece, I was doing a lot of layering, covering up, like redoing things, and I feel like that traveled through in the dance piece as well. It definitely wasn't as much frustration as the last set of pieces, even though that art piece was a response and there was some frustration when I was hitting the canvas with paint on my hand. I feel like the frustration sort of melted away into a sort of sadness, a sort of disappointment or feeling hopeless, like I'm never gonna get anywhere, which comes with a lot of the anxiety that I have about the future, which is the overarching theme of this, so obviously that's going to come up at some point. Yeah. So that last movement and that last art piece really felt like a close. I don't know if it's because I knew that that was the last thing I was going to be doing for this project, or if it was just naturally the way that my anxiety and my nervousness sort of progresses as like a start, a middle, and an end. I really felt a lot of heaviness and a lot of tiredness, a lot of things melting together in both the art and the movement. I feel like that tiredness and that heaviness is coming from the way that having all of that anxiety and having all that frustration kind of drains me. Other than that, I don't know if I have much more at the moment, so I will watch those videos back and I will come back to you with some more thought out ideas. Hello, so I'm back now after having some time to deeply reflect upon and analyze the videos and just the entire process as a whole and how it made me feel. So I have 5 major reflections that I just want to share with you all as a sort of wrap up to this whole documentary. My first reflection is that a bodily check-in was definitely the place to start. It truly helped me to find a theme and really understand where my feelings were lying and what my body was needing, and just everything that I needed to understand in that moment to get started with this process. I feel like it would have been so much harder to find a theme and to streamline everything if I hadn't started there, so that's something I definitely have to keep in mind if I do this process going forward. Secondly, another reflection that I had was the movement felt really objective to me, however the art felt very abstract. I feel like I was able to read my body language and the movements that I was doing really clearly and concisely and understand how I was feeling that way. But the themes of the art pieces were more archetypal and symbolic, and it took a little bit more digging to truly understand how I felt about those pieces and how I felt while making them. Thirdly, I want to reflect on the multiple ways that this dialogue can happen between art making and movement in a therapeutic way. For example, it can come from a feeling that the art piece made you feel. It can come from shapes, lines, colors, and symbols that you're seeing in the artwork and how you would make those shapes, lines, and colors with your body. And it can also come from the movements that's necessary to make the art piece. So yeah, I utilized every one of these techniques and dialogue styles when I was creating movement, responding to the visual art pieces. It just depended on what impacted me most about that piece. I also want to touch on the fact that both the initial and the more well-developed reflection are super important. When I was filming my initial reactions right after I did the movement, I felt like they might be sort of incomprehensible and not really understandable and not helpful, but they really were helpful in understanding the way I was feeling at that very moment after the process, and they were really integral to this process. That being said, what I'm doing right now is also super important. It's really important to go back and reflect on everything as a whole and get a more broad and holistic understanding of the entire process and how it ebbed and flowed, how it moved on sort of a path, and just all of those separate things. And lastly, I just want to reflect upon how much I enjoy everything that I'm doing. I enjoy these two disciplines so much, and I'm so truly thankful that I'm able to pursue an education in both of these areas. This is something that I'm always feeling. I reflect on this a lot just in my day-to-day life, but this process just really reminded me of that. And despite working through the anxieties and the fears and all of the negative emotions about my future throughout this process, in this light, it made me excited for my future as well. And I'm very grateful for that. I want to thank you so much for being here and so much for watching this presentation, and I'm so grateful that you got to be here to witness this first step in what I hope to be a process that I develop throughout the rest of my career. So thank you.